this like secret situation where I felt so poor. I mean, so it's not really.
All right. So you've had this time to share with one another. Wish I could hear your responses. Hopefully, it was something that you all could share with one another in terms of your different opinions about whether the type of college you attend and the degree that you earn determines the type of money that you make as an adult or as a workforce professional. Ultimately, as part of this conversation, within the society that we live in, many times there are some colleges that are highly ranked more than other schools, right? That would determine for a person, you know, because you're from this school that maybe you're smarter, and because you're smarter, then you should be earning more money. Or the type of degree that you've earned should determine what sort of salary you earn. So if you wanted to be a stockbroker, it would behoove you, right, to major and earn a degree in business and finance or accounting and finance, right? So that you can truly be successful at your career. However, if you had a psychology degree, that doesn't mean you necessarily wouldn't be a great stockbroker, but that may mean that you got some things to learn. And Wall Street, right, in New York City, they're not going to really open a door for you if you don't have that background, if you don't have the experience that would further help you be successful as a stockbroker. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rules. There are people that have made their way through doors, not having the credentials or not having the degree to do it. However, they were still successful in doing so. But typically, you would need a specific degree. There are some other careers, though, that you don't need a specific degree to do it. So you can major in math in college. However, you can teach, right? You don't have to have a teaching degree per se. You can do something called the alternate route in New Jersey, which allows you to have your degree in a particular subject matter, such as mathematics. It could be in history. It can be in English. And even though you have that degree in that particular field or that particular subject, because you have the credits and the knowledge within that subject matter, you could still be able to be a teacher, right? So I think it's just being open to the idea of just looking at the sort of career and what you're looking at. And you know, how does that play into, one, opening the door for me to enter into that career? And then two, what is my earning potential? What does that look like for me as an adult in terms of how much money I can make? So, terms to know. Today's terms to know is going to be a lot of terms to know. And the reason why is because this is a pretty dense topic. We're talking about a lot of different types of colleges, the variety and whatnot. So I wanted to give us a broad scope of what that looks like for us. So first, let's start with colleges and universities. So clear difference between colleges and universities. Colleges are a bit smaller than universities. They're both considered four-year institutions. However, most times, colleges are seen to be more private as opposed to universities that are larger and sometimes more state affiliated and receive state funding, which would make them more public, not private. Colleges also seem to cater a little bit more to teaching undergraduate students. And so as opposed to teaching undergraduate and graduate students. Undergraduate student is someone who has first entered into college and they're earning their first four-year degree. So once you graduate high school and you enter into college, you are considered an undergrad. Once you have graduated from college and you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a teacher and get your master's, you want to be a professor, you want to be a clinical psychologist, you want to be a therapist, you got to go to graduate school. So you got to do an additional amount of years of college to get those degrees. And so that is called a grad student. And so those are the two differences between an undergrad and a graduate student. Moving on, you have vocational career colleges, and you have community colleges. So starting with community colleges, we have one right in our town. It's called Essex County College, ECC, and they offer 2-year degrees called Associate of Arts degrees. And you participating in this program will allow you to transfer those credits from that particular degree into a 4-year institution. There are not just degrees, but there are also certificates that you can earn. So there are people that have earned 4-year degrees, but go back to get an additional certificate from a community college. One reason is because it's super affordable, right? And so you're able to earn a degree in 2 years, or earn a certificate in a year or in 18 months or however long the program is. And you're not paying as much money for the classes that you take as opposed to the classes that maybe you would take at Rutgers. So a typical class at Rutgers University would be, in terms of credit-wise, about $1,000 per credit. Most classes are 3 credits each. And so you're paying about $3,000. And I'm sure the credit price has gone up, but you'd pay about $3,000 to take a class. And if you fail that class, you have wasted your money. As opposed to at a community college, you may pay $1,000 for a 3-credit class, or $1,500 for a 3-credit class. And so it is definitely cheaper for people in that regard. And so with it being cheaper, though, on the flip side, you have vocational or career colleges. They are also considered 2-year programs. They can also be shorter in terms of 18 months, depending on what program you go to. So one vocational college or career college that I can think of is a Lincoln Tech. So if you are interested in being an automotive technician, you would do the 18-month program with Lincoln Tech. And you would have hands-on training, and you'd have classes, so typical classes as well, where you're learning the ins and outs of being an auto mechanic or automotive technician. And so it's pretty cool because it's not only that, you can also gain some valuable experiences as well as certification in particular programs of study such as culinary arts, firefighting, dental hygiene, so being a dental hygienist, medical records technology, medical assistant, so on and so forth. And some of these schools do offer associate's degrees, but many of these schools offer certificates for that person to operate within that career field. Next, you have private colleges or universities and public colleges and universities. And I talked about this a little bit. Public colleges are the schools that are receiving their funding from states. So for instance, Rutgers University is receiving its state funding, most of its funding, from the state of New Jersey. And so what that means is that it's not only funded, but it also operates off of the, I don't want to say the demands, but it operates off of the stipulations set forth by not only the university, but by the state of New Jersey. It does offer lower tuition rates. So attending Rutgers University, New York, a year living on campus with room and board, you're paying about $27,000, around there, right, to attend for a year, as opposed to if you were attending a Seton Hall University, which is a private institution, Although both, right, are D1 schools, Seton Hall University would range around $45,000 to $50,000. Caldwell University even is around $53,000, right? And so those schools are private institutions because they are operating more off of the amount of money that their students pay for tuition and fees, as well as private sources of funding from donors, right, from alumni. Their price tag is a little bit more expensive as opposed to a public institution. However, some people will say that private schools are better than public schools, or public schools are better. When you are looking at in-state schools, it's not as clear cut in terms of private or it's not as clear cut in terms of private or public. I think the biggest thing is finding a school that best fits your unique needs, the majors that you're interested in exploring, or if they offer a broad number of programs that you can explore because you maybe are unsure, which is absolutely fine. And also considering how affordable it is, right? And so if you're looking at a school that is super expensive, which is absolutely fine, but financially your parents can't seem to afford the school, on top of the fact that you have a strong academic record, and you could qualify for merit scholarships and aid, then maybe there would be a chance that the school will provide you the scholarships, both merit and need-based, that you would need to go to that private school. However, on the flip side, a public school, when you're looking at a Rutgers University Newark, you're not only receiving that merit and need aid from that institution, but you're also receiving some state aid. There's something called the tuition aid grant that provides you a nice chunk of money that will be attached to your financial aid package for you to even further afford the school. Next, we have liberal arts and we have research universities. So Rutgers University, Newark, New Brunswick, Camden, they are considered more research universities. And to put it in a clear-cut way from liberal arts and research universities is that research, there is more of a focus. One, their professors focus is not only on just teaching, right, but it's also on doing research in a particular field of interest that they are studying or in their specialty, conducting research, finding the funding for that research, and then also generating more funding off of the findings from their research, right? And the secondary part, right, is the teaching that they have to do for the institution. Because they're doing some research at the university, they are relying on students, right, to help them in that regard. So there's something called research assistance, where professors will put out a call to students who can help them, right, enter in data or help them sift through articles that would help, really prove their case in terms of what they're studying. Many of these opportunities do go to graduate students or to students who are somewhat like on the verge of graduating, because it's a way for them to prepare for the workforce, to prepare for graduate school, and they are more in need of those opportunities as opposed to some students who may be in their first or second year of college. As opposed to liberal arts institutions, the professor's main goal is to teach students and to build those connections with them, to provide them that learning experience. That doesn't mean that there isn't research that happens at liberal arts institutions. However, liberal arts, they also have the opportunity of teaching a broad base of courses for students. So although you may be a math major, you're going to still be held to the expectation of taking a philosophy course, taking a sociology course, as well as fulfilling your math major, right? And even as a math major, you wouldn't just be, using a calculator and doing numbers. You would also be required to write a paper, right? There are some theories and theorems that are within math, and it is expected of you within a liberal arts institution that you're able to actually talk about that and prove your case in some papers. So for those of you that are sort of like, nope, I want to do math or I want to do science and I don't want to write any more papers, you want to think carefully about the schools and what you're looking at, right? Because even though you have a particular major, that doesn't exclude you from still having to write a paper, right? Or still having to do something that maybe isn't as fun as, you think it is. Next, my favorite to talk about is nonprofit versus for-profit colleges. And just to put it very clear cut, for-profit institutions are schools that are more expensive. You don't have to have a competitive GPA or test scores to get into the school. Many of them are online, and there's nothing wrong with an online school. However, you are getting what you're paying for. So you're paying for college courses that are online. You submit everything online. There are also sometimes group discussions that are online that you need to post for and that you need to be part of. And you're receiving a grade for it. However, in looking at, do I need this sort of GPA? No, it's not as competitive as opposed to like, I need to have a 3.0 GPA to get into Rutgers University Newark, which is seen as a non-profit. So although you are paying for tuition, Rutgers University Newark is providing that undergrad or graduate student the opportunity of receiving merit and need-based aid so that they can afford to go to that college, as opposed to for-profit, you're paying. And so if you want to be part of this program, you have to make sure that you are paying your bill on time. You can do a payment plan or you can pay it all in one chunk, but nonetheless, we want our money. And so I've given some examples of those schools, and this is not limited to any number, but I just wanted to paint into perspective what some of these schools are. So Rutgers University is nonprofit, William Patterson, UC Seton Hall, Syracuse University, my alma mater, Harvard University, Stanford, these schools are considered nonprofit. For-profit schools, our 45th president actually had a university named after himself. There was some scandal around that, right? And it was called Trump University. And so that was like a for-profit school. You have Walden, Strayer, the University of Phoenix. These are some of the schools that have online programs. They're not necessarily horrible, but to be honest, they're for the purpose of also making money, right? And so just looking at it in that regard. Next, I would be remiss if I did not talk about NCAA, those of you that are athletes and interested in playing a sport. In college, there are 3 divisions within the NCAA. There is Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. Division 1 is usually for the large institutions. They're highly ranked. They provide more financial aid for their athletes, and it's very competitive. If you're trying to get recruited by a D1 school, the coach or the recruiter from that program would be scoping you out as early as your junior year, right? So if that's not saying that you can't join a team or you can't walk on to a D1 team, once you get to college, however, it is harder. So if you are a person that plays sports, you want to be sure that you are building your video content about yourself, so that if you want to be recruited, you are sending it to the schools of interest, so that people can actually come out and see you. It also helps too if you are state ranked. So even if you are playing at your local charter school, or at Central High School or wherever, right, Shabazz, that you're still ranked in some way within the state, so that you're also attractive to recruiters. Division I is intermediate, so it's not as competitive in terms of financial aid that is given to their athletes. However, they do offer some financial aid, but not all of them. And then D3, they do not offer as much financial aid. It consists of colleges that choose to not offer that, right, for their students. And so you are competing in some way. Interestingly enough, Rutgers University, Newark, some of their teams are actually considered D3, as opposed to Rutgers University in New Brunswick is a D1 school. So it's pretty interesting in that regard. But if that is you and you're interested in that, you should definitely ask those questions. Some more terms to know. I love this book. It's called Colleges That Change Lives, and it really does change lives. There are 40 schools that are highlighted within this book. It was created by Lauren Pope. And this book just really highlights just how students can find a school that not only meets their unique academic needs, but it also highlights just, what the mission is of the school and how that school seems to be making headway as a solid institution. Many of these schools you may not even see ranked on the U.S., report, right? And many times if you are a, rank sort of junkie, you are a person that, if you're not in the top 10 colleges, I don't want to go to you, right? And although the name may be nice, that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the school for you. And so there are schools that are highlighted in this book that sound super funny, like Kalamazoo College, right? Sounds very weird. Or the College of Worcester, Kenyon College. Like there are some schools that are in the boonies that you'd be like, whoa, what is a school? However, they're solid institutions. And in this book, it highlights the academic standards, just distinguishing facts about the curricula that is offered at these institutions, as well as their educational philosophy. So first, how they were founded, and then what drives their mission as an institution in educating young people like yourself. Types of degrees. So now that we've gone over all of the colleges, the different types of colleges, I'm going to get into the types of degrees that are offered to students or that you can choose to earn as a college student. So first, breaking it down in terms of associate's degree, Bachelor of Arts, and Bachelor of Science. Associate's degree, we had talked about already in terms of earning a 2-year degree from either a vocational college or a career college or a community college. And so you were to go to ECC and complete your program of study for 2 years in English, right? You would be earning an Associate of Arts. Now, if you went to Rutgers University in Newark and wanted to be an English major and you did your 4 years there, you could earn a Bachelor's of Arts. And so this is more of an expansive education for students that's requiring less credits as opposed to someone that earns a Bachelor's of Science. So when I was in college, I had the opportunity of either earning a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology or a Bachelor of Science. And the difference was that in a Bachelor of Science, I was diving in more strictly into psychology. So I was learning about neuroscience, I was learning about cognitive psychology, social psychology, like all of those things I was diving in more into, as opposed to with a Bachelor of Arts, I wasn't just diving into my major, but I was also diving into sociology, like other frameworks as it relates to philosophies and subject matters that would help me within my psychology degree. Next, you have graduate degrees. So you have your Master of Arts, you have your Master of Science, and you have your Doctorate of Philosophy. So Master of Arts, something similar to what I was stating about Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science. Doctorate, the big difference, right, is that Master of Arts, Master of Science, you are typically finishing those programs within a year to 2 years. There are some programs that have an accelerated program. You can finish in a year and knock it out. There are other schools where you do it in 2 years. A doctorate of philosophy, for anyone that wants to be called Dr. So-and-so, right? You are going to school for about 3 to 4 years. You're doing extensive research, you're getting some of the field work experience, and then you are writing a paper, a pretty hefty paper, right? A dissertation, as they would call it, and you are defending your dissertation to then become Dr. Kendall, right? So that is somewhat of the difference between those degrees. Professional degrees. So for those of you that want to be a lawyer or a doctor, here are some of the professional degrees that you would be earning in that regard. So an MD, a doctor of medicine, physician, right? You're not only going through your 4 years of undergraduate program of study of a bio major or chemistry major, you can even be a doctor with a psychology degree, right? From undergrad. However, the biggest thing is that you have to take a certain amount of courses to prove that you're also ready to enter into medical school. Once you have finished your 4-year degree, then you will take a test called the M.K.T. You will apply to medical schools, and you will then do another 4 to 6 years in school, not only learning, right, the basics in terms of anatomy and physiology, and all of the things that go with med school, but you would also have to do a residency, right? You have to do all these extra things, a specialty, right? So if you wanted to be an OBGYN, or you wanted to be a pediatrician or a cardiologist, you would have to do rotations and have to do extensive field work within that specialty so that you're prepared to enter into that field. Others, doctor of dental medicine, dental surgery, 2 different dentistry degrees. And so it's being very clear that the dentist that you may go to, they're awesome, but if you needed some sort of surgery, they're going to send you, or they're going to refer you to a dental surgeon who would be able to perform that work on you. So if you have wisdom teeth that need to be taken out, either now or when you get older, that sort of thing would happen. Or if you need braces, right? You would not go to your regular dentist, you would go to an orthodontist, right, who would create the braces for you, the brackets, tighten them, put rubber bands, to make sure that they are tightened and that your teeth are shifting and whatnot. Juris Doctorate for those who want to be lawyers. EDM, Master of Education, and a PharmD. So people that want to be pharmacists, you'd be a doctor of pharmacy, which is pretty cool. However, that requires additional amount of years, about 3 to 4 years, for you to earn that PharmD program. I don't think those programs are about 2 years. However, I could be wrong. However, when I did research some time ago, they were around the 3-year range in terms of PharmD program. And this isn't limited to that. So whatever career that you're interested in, you want to make sure that you're looking up what type of professional degree or graduate degree that you need to actually enter into this field. So what is the time frame for completing some of these degrees? So as we had talked about, associate's degree is 2 years. Bachelor's degree, whether arts or science, is 4 years. Master's degree, whether arts or science, is 1 to 2 years. Doctoral degree, so it's interesting, it says 5 to 7. That has actually changed a little bit. It is about 4 to 6 years, depending, right? And what's funny about doctoral degrees is it also depends on what sort of funding you have from the institution. So the longer you take to complete that degree, the more the time is ticking on the money that that institution has given you to complete that doctoral degree. So it's just something you want to be very conscious of. You don't want to take 10 years to complete your doctorate degree. You can, it happens, right? But, and there are a lot of programs that are offering part-time doctoral degrees because people need to pay, right, to finish school. However, it's just being conscious and aware that the longer that you take, the school may state that, hey, you've reached this threshold of time, and now that you've reached this threshold, we can't offer you this money anymore. So, and then lastly, professional degrees can be 5 to 7. So if you're looking to be a doctor, in addition to the undergraduate degree that you received as a Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, you're going to have to do the additional, 3 to 7 years. And the 7 years doesn't just necessarily mean like, geez, I'm still in school. Like I stated, it could be the residency, it could be the fellowships that you're doing that revolve around you specializing in that particular field. Okay, so this is where I would like you all to start doing some researching on your end. So in this mentoring group activity, I would like for you to use your phones to go to collegeboard.com. So if you notice here, the screenshot, you're going to see Google. I went right into Google and I typed in College Board, and this is what should pop up for you. So I circled for you already, College Board, nonprofit organization. This is where your SATs come from. So for those of you that have heard about your ACTs or your SATs, I have talked about them before. This is the organization that offers the SATs. And so this is where you would take that. Also your AP courses. So if you're taking an AP World History, AP US History, whatever AP class you're taking, it's also coming from the College Board as well. So it's kind of circled for you what that looks like. So you want to follow the collegeboard.org website. Once you go there, I would like for you to create your own username and password. I think the best way of doing that is using your school email address and using the password that you use for your school email in College Board. Just makes life easier in terms of remembering it. It's also really professional because College Board could be a way that schools get in contact with you. And so it's just great to have that already set up. If you have it set up, awesome, great, I'm happy to hear. For those of you that do not have it set up, that's absolutely fine. So you're going to create that profile. Here are the activity expectations. So you're going to move into your mentoring groups. You're going to create this College Board account using your cell phone. It's pretty easy. And then after that, I want you to use the handout that I provided for you for today's lesson to select one career from each of the career categories listed below. So arts and entertainment, and sports, business, health and medicine, media and social science, public and social services, science, math, and technology. And then the last one is trade and personal services. So you're going to pick one career from each of these particular categories, career categories. And then what I want you to do is on this handout to answer the questions for each of the careers in the columns that I have provided for you on the handout. You could do it as a group. So I want you to work with your mentor and with your mentoring group peers to complete this. No one should have the same answers per se, right? Because the career that I may be interested in or that I want to learn more about may be different than the one that my peer has, right? Once complete, you're going to hand your paper to your mentor. And then mentors, I am asking you to please hand these documents to Ms. Christine Harding so that she can file those away within our locker, and then I can explore them when I return to see some of your responses and what you have come up with. And so this activity will give you the chance to not only look at the profession, but look at the amount of education that is required, right? So we had talked about the different types of degrees that the person may need to enter into this particular field, as well as just exploring some other information as it relates to the career, the trajectory of the career. Will it be needed in 5 to 10 years, so on and so forth. And so in this activity, have fun. You have the entire time to do this. So the expectation is that by the end of college readiness, everything should be done and complete. Please feel free to ask your mentors questions. If you have questions for me, please email me at monet.kendall@gmail.com, and I have no problem answering those emails for you as well. Thank you so much for joining me for this kind of unique college readiness experience. I do appreciate your attention, and I look forward to hearing about all of the responses and seeing them as well next week. So thank you so much, and peace.